Manchester's real glory was a continuum of first-class rock and roll.
Welcome back to another episode of Scotty and Motty. I'm Scotty, that's Motty, and he just told me 2 seconds before we came on that I'm doing the intro this week. I think I nailed that one.
I think you did, and I like the fact you tell everyone that I put it on you just before we went live. I like that spontaneity. Yeah, that's what you want. Hey, that's how we roll. Don't forget as well, we've got producer James Young off camera.
He's back.
Yeah, so if the stream stops suddenly, that's because he's just decided he's had enough of it. Loads of people in the chat already. What we're going to be talking about, my friend?
We're going to be talking about them, the Glazers. I think if we sang the Clash song, should they stay or should they go?
Yeah.
I think everybody would want them to go, but it looks like today, Mark Ogden has released a story that the Glazers may actually be staying after getting some backing from minority investors, which obviously isn't going to settle well with United fans.
No, it isn't. We'll get into all that. Make sure you are getting involved in the chat. It's good to see lots of people doing already. And hit that like button. We're also going to be introducing some segments to this podcast, Scotty, right? Because this podcast, like,
are you doing
man
an Italian
itself?
Thing there?
No, sorry, I don't know. Like, I don't know what this is. Has evolved, It started off in lockdown, me and you, on our laptops, in our bedrooms, in our spare rooms, chatting nonsense, right? Now we've evolved to, we've got a producer, sort of. We've got a studio. All right, it's this Paddock studio, but we still use it. So we've got one.
It's ours?
Yeah, it's ours. Yeah, we've got mics and all that, yeah. So fuck off, right? We're evolving. And now we thought, right, let's have some chapters. Structure, that's the word I was looking for.
So we've got spontaneity and structure here on the Scotty and Motty show.
You've got it all, yeah. So we'll get into all that anyway, because, well, the segments we're going to go through, we're going to have an and finally, which we've all worked in news. And finally, it's like a little quirky story you have at the end of a news bulletin. Usually it's a little bit jovial, just a little nice one there. Do you know, and finally, do you know what I mean?
And on a cheery note?
Yeah, something like that.
Best
and finally, you know, Margaret Thatcher's dead. Something like that.
It was the anniversary, wasn't it, of her last week? Was it 10
was
years?
it?
10 years since she...
I remember
she went...
I was working in news, and when it happened, and I was in the newsroom in Manchester at Q103, and they said, "Oh, Thatcher's just died. Can you go out and get her Voxes?" And we've all done Voxes, haven't we? Voxes. Young, have you done Voxes?
Bloody annoying. I hate them. They are the bane of my journalistic career.
To be fair, he's right.
Yeah.
Voxes are... Okay.
For people who don't know what Vox is...
voice of the people. So you go out and you get a reaction.
It's Latin, Vox Popular.
Thank you.
Well,
yeah. So you go out and you get just a reaction from people. And I've done it like your favourite pet names and all sorts of just drivel. Anyway, this is, you go out and get a reaction and get some Voxes on Thatcher dying. So I went out of the studio in the office, went down Deansgate, seen some man, about 50 years old, went over to him and said, "Hi, from Q103 Radio, I just wanted to get a reaction to the news that Margaret Thatcher's dead." And he went, "She's dead? Thatcher's dead?" That's me doing a Scouse accent. Fucking great. And then just launched into this like 5-minute monologue of diatribe about why he hated Margaret Thatcher, which obviously you can understand why, especially people from Liverpool, because of what went down. So it was like, once we cut the swearing out, there was something there we could use.
There's a really good interview that you should seek out from Paul Heaton of the Beautiful South. He completely rips into Thatcher post death, and I don't think the presenter was ready for it. I can't remember what show it is, but you have to find
News
it.
It was.
Was it?
News, Sky, or one of them,
completely
the best one's the Scottish woman. Well, like she's like, "Oh, Thatcher's dead" or whatever. I think she says something like, what is it? There's like a quote that she says about not wanting to scrape a dead body off her shoe or something fucking mad like that.
Wow.
Well, from one dead iron lady to two very alive iron tight-fisted bastards who look like they still want to keep their... Is it Stranglehold? Stranglehold works, on Old Trafford. So the news was that they're going to...
Shall I read it?
You read the news.
Right, so this was Mark Ogden, who 1:15 today. He's a senior writer for ESPN. We've had him on the podcast, on Paddock Podcast. Says Joel and Avram Glazer are increasingly confident of securing the outside investment that will enable them to remain as Manchester United owners and potentially double the value of the club over the next decade, a source has told ESPN. The Glazer family, who have owned United since 2005, announced last November they were considering all strategic alternatives, including new investment into the club, a sale or other transactions, in order to generate the funds required to transform the team, training ground, the Old Trafford Stadium, which has been overlooked as a potential venue for the United Kingdom and Ireland bid to host Euro 2028, despite being the biggest club ground in Britain. Then goes on to say that while Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani is fronting a Qatari bid to buy United in face of competition from Sir Jim Ratcliffe, Britain's richest man. A number of United States investment funds have contacted Rain Group, that's the New York bank overseeing the process, to register their interest in acquiring a minority stake in the club. So that minority stake would enable, because Joel and Avram, apparently out of all the Glazer siblings, are the ones that are keen to stay on. And that would enable that to happen.
Yeah, and on projected value of what Manchester United could be within 10 years, some of the figures, it could be £10 billion, so they could look at making another £4 billion if they were to sell in 10 years' time. So, I mean, it's not short change for the family, is it? If it doesn't cost them anything to get these extra investors in and they're about to make a lot more money, financially, you can understand the reason behind it. But I don't know how surprised people are that it's come to this, really. I broke the news on BBC Radio when it happened, and I was very keen to read out all the small print, because I know we all get excited, as we should, that it said that this. It didn't say that this is definitely going to be a sale. There was like small print that said things about it could be like getting investment in there. So when we come to this now, what is it, round 3 of bidders between Sir Jim Ratcliffe and
Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani.
Yeah.
I say this every week, you're quite cynical. Yeah?
I am today. Yeah.
No, okay. But I always think of you as quite a sceptical person when it comes to certain things. When you saw that statement, you read that small print, did you feel this is the end game for them, or did you feel this is shenanigans to get more done?
I was trying to balance between them, because you got like the sort of fan on one shoulder saying that at last, it's the end, and then you read that and thinking, it might not be. Do you know what I mean? So there was always that sort of level of doubt in my mind. And then, but this isn't new news. Do you know what I mean? This has been sort of building, hasn't it? I think through every sort of round of bids, there has been this hanging around in the background. So I wonder whether, because we got to round 3, because even a lot of people were saying, well, why is it taking, to get to this point for them to make a decision, whether that's a delaying tactic for the Reigns Group or whoever to go round and find more sort of minority investments. Because I think it's going to be a few, which is worrying as well. Even though they're minority, but do they not get a say in how the clubs run? Or they're just going to go like, here's my money, you crack on, how you doing, lads?
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Because it's like, talk about hedge funds that have like 200 billion or something at their disposal. So, when you see those sort of figures, the money they've got available, and you worry about these shenanigans, don't you? Because it was these sort of financial machinations that enabled the Glazers to take over United in the first place without having any real money.
Yeah.
And then it wouldn't surprise me massively if they managed to work some way of keeping hold of United and getting more money. The frustrating thing, and the reason that I think there's going to be a backlash of just unbelievable proportions from the fans, is now you have sort of got everyone looking at them looking at new investment, looking at a new owners who, whether you're, you back the Qatari bid or the Sir Jim Ratcliffe bid, I think either of those bids represents the possibility of having a new stadium, of having investment in the team, of having owners that are willing to have some form of dialogue with the club, or with the fans, I should say. Having all the things we've kind of wanted in terms of an owner and what they're going to do with Manchester United. You can get into moral arguments another time, but in terms of what will happen with the club itself, those are the things that a lot of United fans have been crying out for. We need a training ground that's fit for purpose or that's updated. Yep, they both promised to do that, I think. Both promised to invest in the stadium, both promised to invest in the team. And you look at it, you can go, okay, a load of fans are like, whatever camp you're in, if you can call it that, are like, yeah, this is going to be a positive thing. And then the Glazers turn around and say, actually, we're not going to go. We're going to stay on. It's gonna cause. I just think, and I'm not, I've got to choose my words carefully on a live video. I'm not advocating it, but I think it'll make that on there look like a picnic.
Yeah,
It will. I genuinely believe
yeah.
it will. And I think you'll be looking at going, this is untenable.
I think if they stay, you'll have more chance. It'll be easier getting into Strangeways for a visit than it will be getting into Old Trafford, because they'll have to have them barriers that they had during the Liverpool game and a couple of games afterwards. But it's just like trying to sell someone a sirloin steak. If you're sat at a restaurant, like, I've got a big steak, starving, wanted this for so long, and then getting a Happy Meal put in front of me. That's exactly what it is.
It is, or even, or the meal that you didn't want in the first place that you threw away. Like, it's that kind of thing, innit? Like, we didn't want them here. They've been here for 18 years. Now it looks like they're going. You've got potential owners that, I get that owners always promise new things, but it looks like there could be some truth to what they're going to do with the club in terms of investment and why the reasons why, they're buying it. And then the Glazers just turn around and go, nah, we'll stay on. I think you're right, Scotty. I think it will be. I think the thing with the Liverpool game as well is when that got postponed, I think that made a lot of people realise the power that fans have. It's like you can get the biggest game in the Premier League called off, then anything is possible.
Right, but do you really feel that protest, and I was there, that held the sort of weight that made the Glazers want to sell in the first place, or was it not sort of the backlash from the European Super League that never got off the ground, and that was the reason? It wasn't down to sort of the fans and stuff.
Well, I think they're all tied together.
They are all tied together. I'm I'm all for sort of, I can't advocate any sort of violence or anything like that, but fans protesting against the owners, I'm all for that. But I'm just wondering to what end will actually, if they make the decision to stay and all contracts are signed and all that, do you think like that many people, which will happen, will actually be enough to go, actually Wall Street, we'll just sack this off? It will take considerable lengths, and like I said, more than what happened previously, to even get them to bat an eyelid, I think.
I think you make a good point. I think that those considerable lengths could be achievable, though. I mean, if it becomes almost like you can't have games at Old Trafford. They keep getting protests where it's stopping the games going ahead, or there's something going down where the Premier League have to intervene and go, look, this is untenable. We can't have this. We can, you know what I mean? Like, the games are getting either called off or postponed, or we're having to delay kick-off every week. Like this, something's got to be done. And they might realise that, look, the best bet for us is to leave. And it's not just that, is it? When you look at these protests and what's gone on, you've had, 1958 group have been involved in stuff where I think they've done not just the process at the ground, but also going after sponsors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's all these different facets to it. And also the fact that you've got two potential owners waiting in the wings, I think it's just going to encourage it more. Youngie, what do you think? You've been heavily involved in all of this.
No. I mean, I think the problem is, especially if it is Qatar that buy United, I think like when the Glazers bought United in 2005, there's going to be a lot of infighting. Fans will stop going, people will go and watch FC United, but then for a lot of people, United's an emotional crutch for them, and it's not quite as easy as just being able to walk away and stop supporting your football team. Look, I know people who stop going, fair play to them, but I'm also not going to hold it against other people who are still going to watch United, because everyone's got their reasons, haven't they? And I think they infighting and people picking sides, all that's going to happen is the people that are going to suffer the most isn't going to be the online fans, isn't going to be the tourists or the people that come for a couple of games a season. It'll be us that are there every week again that are going to suffer the most out of all of this, like we always do.
What do you think? What is the?
I genuinely, call me naive, I still think they'll sell.
Do you think it's a scare tactic to sort of get them to?
I think there might be part of that, and I think part of them might be thinking, actually, we might be able to get more out of this, and if we sort of double down and wait. But I think when push comes to shove, like the Rain Group, is it, that are overseeing this?
Yeah.
I think they've got to have a say in it, or hand in it as well. And go,
there's a date though, isn't there? Isn't it?
Is it April the 28th? And I think that, obviously that's what's that, 11 days, whatever it is.
Yeah, because it's not going to go to around 4. And I just can't imagine Sir Jim Ratcliffe or Sheikh Jazim. I was getting that wrong.
Sheikh, I don't know what I pronounce it. I've only read it. Him will just go like, I've had enough of this, because it'd be evident that what they were trying to do. Yeah, I mean, get involved in the chat and the comments. Let us know what you think. I'd love to know.
Yeah, if you're watching, get your comment. What is your thoughts on this, and is it a possibility, and what would be your desired outcome? Could it be a positive if the Glazers stay? Looking at how United are progressing under Ten Hag, The money that we've invested in players has been the best post-Ferguson. I don't think anyone can disagree with that. We had the likes of like Martinez, Casemiro come in, Eriksen on a free. We'll just overlook Weghorst for a moment. But, you know, across the board, it's been decent in the transfer window. It's been United's best season, I'd say, on the pitch football-wise. Maybe not the most successful because obviously Jose Mourinho won the Europa League, but we're still in a semi-final, you know, quarter-final of a cup. So, just this season on its own, and it's hard to not look at everything that's happened under the Glazers, it's been a successful season under their stewardship.
I think the problem with that
is a rarity. It's a red herring.
I think the problem with that is, like you say, it's a red herring because part of the reason we went big in the summer is because we had to, because of a lot of mismanagement in terms of Pogba, Matic, Cavani, players on massive contracts. Their contracts came to an end. We couldn't move them on before those contracts came to an end, so we had to replace them. You've still got, I think, Phil Jones is still collecting a wage, even though he's not played. Or he's kicked one. I think he's played. Is it one game in 2 years or something? And, you know, that's a separate debate about him, but it shows the mismanagement that's gone on with the club. And we've seen this before with the Glazers, where you've had a summer where you've gone a bit turbo, like let's buy Harry Maguire, let's buy Wan-Bissaka. And then the summer after going, actually, right now, you know, we better slow down. And I just think this boom and bust operation doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it is because of their mismanagement. Because if you look at what City have spent and what United have spent, I know City came in with these massive amount of money initially, but it's been comparable, or, you know, over the last 10 years, whatever. But they've had a structure. They've had a bit of a sort of a strategy. Even the Scousers have had some sort of strategy in place where they went, look, you know, we're going to get Brendan Rodgers in. This is his style. This is his system. These are players that suit Brendan Rodgers. When it's not working out with him, Jurgen Klopp is like a sort of a continuation and an improvement on that style. So some of the targets we've got actually fit that system. So it made sense. It was like a strategy that worked.
Yeah.
With us, you look at Moyes to Van Gaal, from Van Gaal to Jose, from Jose to Ollie. It's just, there's no cohesion.
Yeah, it was like
there.
a drunk with a
You know,
credit card.
and
It was just...
you know, you were right in the end, but you were saying it about Ollie. You said it almost from day one. He's a good caretaker. He's not the guy for permanently. And I like Ollie. I love Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for what he did as a player, and I felt he did his best as a manager, and obviously had his shortcomings. But you look at it, and it's like, what have we achieved in the last 9 years? Yes, you're right. Managers have won things at United. Van Gaal won a trophy. Jose won a couple of trophies. Eriksen has won a trophy. But a lot of the time, I almost feel like it's in spite of that. And you mentioned the Jose one. We won the 2 trophies in 2017. Great season, yeah? Give him that. 2018, you finished 19 points behind City. You go out in that summer and you buy Diogo Dalot, Fred, and Lee Grant.
Yeah.
No disrespect to those players, yeah? I'm not trying to have a dig at them. City go out and break their transfer record for Riyad Mahrez, who just won a Premier League at Leicester, or, you know, a couple of seasons preview, and had been PFA player. They've improved, and we're 19 points behind them, and we haven't.
Yeah.
There's no plan there, is there? Do you know what I mean? And I feel like no matter what the Glazers do now, whether it's this summer or next summer, it's too little too late. And even your point you made there on Weghorst, I get why Ten took him, because he wanted a striker, and we can't just keep throwing Marcus Rashford in on his own. But the issue there for me is, and I spoke about this on a podcast the other day, or it might have been on my news, you see, like, we went into the January transfer window fighting on 4 fronts. You're in the league, not a title race, but you're in the top 4. You're not that far off a title race, to be honest with you. You're in the FA Cup, you're in the Europa League, you're in the League Cup. You've got an injury crisis, you've lost Ronaldo. You buy a striker.
Yeah.
Arsenal did it. Arsenal went out and got Leandro Trossard because Jesus was injured. So they went, right, we can't just rely on Eddie Nketiah. Look, we weren't going to, but let's get a striker in now and pay some money. The Glazers went, nah, we've spent money in the summer. And you go, but if you spend a bit more now, we could win 3 trophies and finish, you know, in the top 3 or whatever.
Do you think this sort of like look of ambition is a token gesture then in some ways? There's a lot more troughs and peaks, hasn't there, been on the Glazers?
Yeah, you've nailed it, bro. And it's like, I get it when rival fans look at us, because you're not, I know you're playing a like devil's advocate. I know you're the last person to sort of praise the Glazers. But rival fans, I have this argument with them. They go, you guys, you spent 89 million quid on Paul Pogba. You spent 80 million quid on Harry Maguire. You spent 79 million quid on Romelu Lukaku, 67 million on Angel Di Maria, 50 million on what are you moaning about? And you go, we're 950 million quid in debt. You go to Old Trafford, and we all go, everyone on this podcast and a lot of people there, it's falling apart. The training ground was new in 2020. It ain't new anymore.
Yeah.
It's behind the times. You've got a team that, while we have spent money on certain players, we've wasted a lot of money because we haven't got a strategy. I mean, how many of those players I've mentioned have been successful?
No, I completely agree with you. Like ringers, the cars when people used to.
Yeah,
what they call
there's
it.
a good one. Yeah,
Do you know? No, he said
yeah.
that's like if Guardiola and City were compiling like a Lamborghini and they were getting the correct parts that were going to do all the exhaust, the engine to build it. And then United has been it's like a ringer, and it has, and it's just been like it's really all over Europe. We'll have your Schweinsteigers, and it's like it's just and it gets forward a little bit. It'll get you from A to B, but it's not getting you from A to the Premier League title.
No, you're right, and you've seen it. Like when you get who's signing these players? When we bought Fred, and I know you love Fred, and I get it. When we bought him, we bought him that summer for 50 million quid. And I remember the Juve game. We lost 1-0 at home to Juventus. And he was on the bench. He didn't get off the bench. And Jose, after the game, said, I looked at my bench, I didn't have anyone. And we've just bought this kid.
Well, he didn't want him. And
that's what I mean.
All right,
so you can't run a club like that. It's insane.
let me continue this thread of devil's advocate.
Okay.
Is there any argument, or could the Glazers, if they stayed, sort of say, right, well, we know we got it wrong previously, and Woodward's gone, and they could make him look like the scapegoat and say, we've got this new, system in place now, and look how much it's working better. I mean, if that was me, that'd be the card I'd be playing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Listen, I'm Mr. Second chances. I've had many.
That's why
chances.
James Young's here tonight.
Oh wow! Shots fired, Youngie. Don't have it. You've got a mic there, son. Feel free to use it. But I think after 18 years of what we've seen, I think that ship sailed. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
if this was 2015 even, and you go, look, we made a mistake with Moyes, we made a mistake with Woodward, we made a mistake with, the sort of some of the transfers we made. We've not invested in the stadium since 2005. We get it. We need to make some changes. You go, all right, maybe. Even then, it's still doubtful because of the debt. But when you're 930 million quid in debt, that's more than it was when they came in and ploughed all this debt on us. When the stadium is in a state of disrepair that it's in.
Yeah,
to the point, because it still amazes me, we have these conversations about a new owner. And it's like selling your house. You sell your house and you go, the guy comes to buy it and you go, right, if you want to buy this house, yeah, it's great. The only thing is you're going to have to redo the foundations. You're going to have to rebuild the walls. It needs, it needs a new roof. It needs new ceilings. It needs new everything. It needs new doors. You have to completely rebuild it. The guy's going to be thinking, right, I ain't buying this. And what have you done to it? That's where we're at with the Glazers and United. The stadium's goosed. The team still needs massive investment. The training ground needs investment. I mean, it's amazing to me. We're going to potential owners. If you come in, you not only need to clear this £900 million of debt, you need to spend $1 billion on the training ground and another $1 billion on the stadium. I
mean, there's a compliment in there, and that's that they're probably buying the brand more than the sort of facilities or the commodities that come along with Manchester United, and that just shows the sort of scale of the club that they can warrant wanting £6 billion of people willing to play it, really.
Yeah, I'll get some of. Sorry, I've not got into some of the comments.
Yeah, go for it.
Brian Casey says Youngie knows Latin. WTF?
I don't. I just know that.
Youngie's got Google.
Listen, don't not worry about on this. We're cultured on this. I know Latin. Curriculum vitae. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gianluca. Whatever. There you go. I'm going to stop before I start crossing the line. Jonathan Martin says, love you guys, love Manchester. I'm a Brummie. Mate, you can still be a hero of Manchester if you're a Brummie.
Dave Haslam's a Brummie, but a Manchester hero.
There you go. I was going to say McCullough, but because he actually won an award once for Heroes of Manchester. Got nominated. I think.
Yeah. He
didn't ask for it. But Dave Haslam, there you go. James Hunsinger says it's got to be them trolling. Jim Mack says if they stay, we will troll the sponsors out of existence. I think it's just a bargaining trick, but God help them if they stay. Solo from United Agenda, it's good to see you in there. John Shin's in the house. Get those Yanks out. He can say that, he's a Yank. Hashtag Glazers out. Key Buckley says the ponytail skullet shows he doesn't GAF what other people think. I think is that give a fuck?
Yeah.
Daniel Gray says late to the party today evening. Loads of people in the chat. Loads of people. Good to see you. Get involved. George Sayer says J Motty for PM. Do you know what makes me laugh as well about the Glazers? They brought in this anti-Glazer rule, didn't they, for new owners?
Really?
Yeah, do you remember that? When the Chelsea bid was going through? There's like this new clause in like rules they brought in, like anti-Glazer rule they called it, because it's like you can't buy a club.
Oh right, yeah,
so
yeah.
by leveraging all loans on the club that
yeah.
you're buying, like when you've got no dough, like to stop it happening again to other clubs. I think, well, that's nice, isn't it? It's just a shame you weren't there in 2005 when all this shit was popping off. Yeah, big thanks to everyone getting involved in the chat and the comments. Hit that like button. Let's get to 100 likes. Yeah, we've got 187 people watching. Only 45 likes, which is a disgrace. Right, on the and finally stories, Youngie.
Yeah.
What have you got for me?
I've got this. Hang on. Look at this. If it works. One sec.
Youngie's been he's been concentrating, right? I've been watching him.
Look at that.
Look at that. There you go. So, is that on the screen for everyone or just for us?
Yeah, I can make it bigger.
There you go. So, explain this to us.
So this is Garth Crooks. His team of the week this week he's gone for David De Gea, despite the fact that Forest had no shots on target against United.
There's a man who hasn't watched the game.
It's interesting. This isn't the first time Garth Crooks has done something like this, is it? He does like have a very individual way of looking. Unique. Thank you.
Unique.
I'm glad you're.
I'm just reading this. Hang on. His performance against the stubborn Nottingham Forest side wasn't anything special, but thoroughly dependable. But you've just contradicted yourself entirely.
Yeah, Garth Crooks does like to sort of. He likes to think outside the box. Yeah, he's like other people look at players or goalkeepers that haven't saved any shots in a victory that saw your midfielder and your attacker just absolutely tearing it apart and go, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go for Anthony or Bruno. The one that was in that game that deserves to be team of the week is the goalkeeper that had almost nothing to do. Do you know what I mean? Even I could understand it, right? If David De Gea was wiping out defenders or attackers as he came and collected the ball, and his distribution was amazing during that game, but it weren't. I mean, he did okay. He didn't do anything wrong, but he had nothing to do. Like, Manny Maguire was doing most of the clearing, and distribution-wise, I actually thought David De Gea gave it away a couple of times. He did some good passes as well, but it wasn't like you thought, he did like a sweeper keeper type performance. There's nothing in that performance, and we all love David De Gea, that makes you think he did anything that warrants him being in team of the week.
Do you think he's warranted enough to stay at United?
That's a very good question, that. I do worry that David De Gea, if we're going to play the way that we seemingly want to play out from the back, I don't know if he's that guy. And I love David De Gea for what he's done at United. And I think, he'll go down in history as one of our greatest keepers. And you look at the fact he won 4 Player of the Year awards and has been in Premier League Team of the Year, I think 5 years, in 10 years, whatever. There's no disputing he's got more clean sheets than anyone. He's won a title, let's not forget. So there's nothing to sort of, dislike about David De Gea. I just watch it, and I watch that we're trying to play out from the back. We look nervy with him on the ball, if I'm being honest. He doesn't seem to suit him. And I think some of our better performances and results have been when he's just gone long. You go to Liverpool, Old Trafford, we abandoned playing out the back, didn't we, after the Brentford catastrophe. And a lot of the time we just even up, but you had Sancho, you had Rashford, you had Martial for a half, getting on the end of things, and it was words and counter-attacking because Liverpool obviously were pressing high. So I have my doubts.
Yeah, and it seems a bit too long in the tooth to try and teach an old dog new tricks. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's 31, is it?
Yeah, I think he's improved. I mean, that's still young.
Yeah.
But you want someone who does that as a natural ability rather than trying to bring it into his game.
It's interesting because we've been linked with David Raya from Brentford. He is a sweeper keeper. His numbers, if you're into all that sort of stuff, his touches is like are off the scale. The amount of times he touches the ball, the amount of passes he makes. He's almost like he's like Manuel Neuer type player. I'm not saying he's as good as him, but just Edison's a good example. He's like a sweeper. But I was chatting to producer Ethan the other day, and he was like, he'd seen a lot of David Raya. He says, he does all that, but he's not that great in terms of his.
It's like what do you prioritise the distribution over the ability to stop the ball going in the net?
Because he said, like, some people just have ignored this, and he'd watched quite a lot of him. And he said, like, look, he was pointing at different games where Ray has been at fault, and he's like, he's got one in him. And you come at United from Brentford, no disrespect to Brentford, but it's a massive step up. Yeah. And like Christian Eriksen's been at International and
Brentford was a stepping stone, wasn't it?
Yeah, like before people go, boom, Eriksen did it. David Raya, I think he's been at Brentford a little while. I think, come up the leagues with him. It's a big step up, and I just think, he could find it difficult. Yeah. And then we might be going, if we did get rid of De Gea, because I know there's still a case he might stay on, well, we're stuck with David Raya or Jack Butland now, and you know, this guy's nowhere
like
near.
the devil, you know.
Yeah, where do you stand on it?
I think keep him. I wouldn't roll the dice on Brentford's goalie unless we're.
I've said him. I mean, there's others.
Yeah. But I mean, unless we're absolutely certain. I think we were linked with the Real Betis keeper as well earlier on in the season. I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Let me have a look.
But I think he's got a huge buyout clause, and he put that on purposely. Because he said that he wants the club to be better off if he leaves. I can't remember the name of it.
It's not. Is this Rui Silva? Is this because the other ones?
Am I right? Real Betis.
Claudio Bravo.
Real Betis is they're the ones where Finger came from, Herrera. Like my Spanish.
No, that's
Atletico Bilbao, innit?
That's it. It's been a long day. Been at a funeral. Leave me alone.
No, not. Listen.
But yeah, so I think the Athletic Bilbao keeper. I think we will be linked with him.
Well, this is it. I mean, the big question is, you know, is this Simon? Is that the lad? I think, you know,
you're going to have to pay top dollar though to get.
Yeah, and if you look at the most successful keepers in the league, Edison and Alisson, Liverpool broke the bank for Alisson, but they knew he was like the final piece of their puzzle, didn't they? And City, when they got, funnily enough, they got Claudio Bravo in, didn't they? Who I thought was a bit of a disaster. Yeah. And then replaced it. Like Pep brought him in to replace Joe Hart, and then admitted he got it wrong and brought in Edison, which I quite admired that, even though they sitter. But I think, you know, if the manager gets it wrong, you stick back him. There's something in that. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
No, don't just say, well, crack on.
Yeah, that's it. You know, we stuck with him now. You bought him, which is kind of what United did with Jose at one point, didn't it? When he like bought, was it Lindelof or whatever? And you were like, well, that's your lot. You're not having enough defender. And he's like, "But if you get me someone, I can." You know what I mean? And that was when he lost his patience with him. So yeah, no, I think there's because we were linked with the lad from Portugal, weren't we, Diogo Costa? And I've been massively underwhelmed whenever I've seen it. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm like, again, but he plays out from the back and he plays quite well. But sometimes his goalkeeping's left a bit wanting, and it's that whole thing of like, your priority as a goalkeeper should be stopping people scoring goals, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
You know
I
mean?
hope
like,
so.
That's not, you know, it's all well and good being able to pick out a pass and being good at that sort of thing, but, you know, first priority is don't let anyone score. And yeah, sometimes better than the devil. You know, get involved in the chat in the comments. Youngie, what do you reckon?
I don't know. I mean, I think the problem is with De Gea is his distribution. I think he's still a good shot stopper, but we've seen in the past few games especially, he just doesn't have that, you know, like the modern goalkeepers now, like Edison at City and even at Liverpool as well. The way that they just distribute the ball is just so much better than De Gea.
Yeah. Simon Andrews says, Edison, Alisson, Philippa Sue.
Nice.
Deborah, Annabelle too. I forget your name.
Second nod for Paul Heaton.
I know, man. I like that. A few people, like Brian Case says, yeah, we'll be linked with Diogo Costa. King Dino says, striker, 2 midfielders, a centre-back and a right-back all have to be priority over a new keeper. We've got it. I mean, we've got it all to do. Ed says, Jay, can you convince your mate Rio to come out of retirement to replace Harry Maguire? Maguire getting stick.
Yep. I made a tweet that did well yesterday about Harry Maguire. Did you see it?
Even a broken clock's right twice a day. Do you know what I mean?
You didn't retweet it. Did you read it?
I didn't see it. Sorry.
I said Harry Maguire's always got the face of a man who's lost his keys. Do you know what I mean? That's his sort of temperament on the pitch. He's always looking as to what, you know.
I'll give you that. I like that one.
But
I you see, my default setting is to defend players. It is like I get to a limit. Like with Vegas, I got to a limit where I'm like, I like the kid, but he ain't good enough. Ilanga, I wrote an article for Republican Mancunian in the summer saying like, Ilanga, do you know what I mean? Be patient with the kid because he's had, you know, a horrific time with Ralph Rangnick, and then you have to look at someone and go, is he good enough? Probably not.
Right.
Harry Maguire. My issue with Harry Maguire is he became the bogeyman for everyone.
Yeah.
And that's when I get a little bit like, all right, he's not anywhere near for me as good as Varane or Martinez. He's lost his confidence, and there is a little bit sometimes of almost arrogance that comes in there with some of the comments he makes. But now, you know, we need him for these games. So, ironically, he's suspended on Saturday, isn't it? Or
Sunday, yeah. So who plays there then? Is Shaw back?
I think Shaw and Lindelof would have to be, wouldn't it? Or unless you put Casemiro in defence.
I can see this is a film in the making, right?
Go on.
The Harry Maguire redemption story.
Right, okay.
City are on for the treble.
Don't mention it.
Right.
Yeah.
United City at Wembley for the FA Cup final.
Yeah.
City have already got through to the Champions League final.
Okay.
Haaland's been the best striker in Europe all season.
Yeah.
But then, on the day, he has to go manco next to Haaland.
Yeah.
And he has a blinder and then scores the winner. It's never going to happen, but, you know.
A lad next to me at Old Trafford said, I get where you're coming from with this. He said, trust me, Vegas has got one massive goal in him.
Can you
Vegas
imagine?
has got the winner in the cup final against City in him or something like that. And I went, I just don't see it.
I know.
Yeah, but Sanchez, do you remember against Spurs had an okay game in the FA
That's
Cup
what
final? It's like his only big game.
Sanchez had an okay game against Spurs.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, listen.
Off the back of his ass.
Yeah, I'd love it. I'd love it if we beat them. Just love it. I don't see it happening. So we've got What Are You Smoking? That was Gav Crooks. We've got And Finally. Reasons to be cheerful, which brings us to the final segment. Reasons to be cheerful. You mentioned it there, Scotty. We've got a quarter-final of the Europa League.
Yep.
Yeah, and we've got a semi-final of the FA Cup. I mean, it's not that bad being a United fan, is it? Do you know what I mean? Sometimes we think...
Where were we this time last year?
Oh,
when Ralph Rangnick was in with his gegenpressing and everybody had lost their shit.
Can I just say as well, I've never ever forgiven Stephen Howson and Pundit J for convincing me that Ralph Rangnick and his gegenpress was the way forward.
Yeah.
I'd never heard of him. And I was like, I was made to feel bad that I hadn't heard of him. Like, you've not heard of him. Call yourself, someone that works in football. Not really. And you've never heard of Ralph Rangnick. What's the matter with you? Gegenpress. Not heard of that? No. Watch. Right? You're about to be dazzled. We had 35 minutes against Crystal Palace.
It was a good 35 minutes.
It was. Well, that was it.
They look shattered on United. Didn't they? Like, what's this about?
Have you ever seen a team just give up on an idea?
Yeah, it's
like in real time before, like you did in that final 5 minutes of that first half against Palace.
Do you remember that book that you got? That was
the Ralph Rangnick trainer coach.
Right.
I need to find it, Scotty, because it's like the opposite end of the spectrum. One end of the spectrum, you've got your book, which is superb. This is at the other end. It's literally like, I wouldn't even say it's a dissertation. You can write a dissertation and put in a hardback cover on it and go, it's a book. Yeah. It's not even that good, right? It is woeful, this book. I don't know. Steve ended up with it. I don't know if he bought it. He says he got it sent to him. I don't know. You know what he's like. It's got no author on it, right? So there's no one attributed to writing it. Like you see an article in like a newspaper, like The Star. It'll go written by the sports desk because it'll say, message to sign for United. And no one wants to put the name to it because they'll get trolled. So it was one of them. Like, even weird things like the font changes on certain pages. Like, some of the writing is right near the top of the page. At the back, the blurb, which wants to make you buy this book, it looks like someone's put it through Google Translate and not checked it. It opens quotation marks on the back and doesn't close them, right? So the grammar's wrong. It is woeful. And it's literally like someone went, Rangnick signed for United, get a book out. Right, let's do it tonight between us. Like, let's meet.
Quick and
Let's just go on Wikipedia, on Transfermarkt or whatever, get some stats, and let's just try and fill 200 pages and get it out there. And at one point, they must have thought, we're not going to fill these 200 pages. Let's change the size of the font. Let's make it bigger. Let's start the page, this chapter, halfway down the page. That's what they do. And I hate knocking authors because anyone who writes, but I can with this one because no one's put the name to it, and it's terrible.
I think I've got it. Hang on, I'll save it as an image and put it on the stream.
As was the football under Ralph Rangnick. Do you not think that the performance for the first half against Palace was that impressive? But they looked like remember your days when you were drinking and you used to come up with wild ideas at the kitchen at 2 o'clock in the morning? They look like a load of lads who've gone like, you know what we should do? The Tough Mudder. And the following morning, they've all got together, and then 35 minutes, like, fuck.
It's one of them minutes where you look at each other.
Yeah.
Going, should we sack this off? Well, don't you carry on. It'll make me look bad.
Yeah.
Should we just sack it off together? And I think Anthony Langer didn't get the memo because he kept trying, didn't he? But he just wasn't good enough. And then, you just saw players who were good. Marcus Rashford's good at football. Luke Shaw's good at football. Do you know what I mean? I think Fred didn't get the memo either because Fred, bless him, kept going.
Fred will try his hardest for everybody.
He did, to be fair to him.
Lovely man.
But it was pretty it was pretty woeful. Listen, we're going to wrap it up there.
Hang on, one sec.
One sec. James Young has had his Weetabix this week, hasn't he?
He's done well.
Don't want to jinx him because we've still, there's still
Still the outro to do, yeah.
Yeah. But he's been on it, you know what I mean? So credit where it's due.
Well, while we're waiting for James to find this book, can
In
you
fact,
make sure
tell
you're
you what I can
liking and stuff?
I'd
And
say-
also, we're doing
Sorry,
the
go on.
Patreon videos, and loads of you signed up last week, so thank you. And we've been getting comments on how much people have been enjoying the extra content, been sending articles. We're doing a very own radio show, so it's me, Motty and Younger doing tunes around, is it the 80s this week?
Well, I thought we were doing our birth year.
Yeah, so 1981.
80 for me.
Yeah, so all the best tunes from 1980 with anecdotes around each tune, and it's 25p a week. You get a link in there for that.
I've got a link in the picture. Listen,
Wow.
right, that's not even it.
Is that not it?
No.
But that's got Ralph Ragnick's name at the bottom. Is that not the correct one?
No. That looks better.
What, the Revolutionaire?
Yeah, there's a book here. I don't know if you can
There's
see it on
another
your
one.
screen or it's just on our screen. But Ralph Ragnick, the soccer revolutionaire, isn't the one. It was literally like Ralph Ragnick trainer coach, I think it was called.
While we're looking for other books as well, me and Jay are going to be at Waterstones next Thursday.
Yes.
We're doing a Q&A because my book is released next month. Shit in it, by the way. Next Monday. Just nervous. First book's coming out, but we're doing a Q&A at Waterstones in Deansgate. There are a few tickets left if you fancy coming down to watch what will be a Scotty and Motty live first, won't it? I think
It will, man. I'm a little bit, nervous because I like this. I don't want to mess this up, but we'll have a laugh. We'll go through your book. It's brilliant. I was fortunate enough for you to give me a sort of sneak preview, and it is. I don't want to be that guy, but I'm very proud of you, bro.
Oh,
You
cheers,
smashed it because I read it with 70% pleased for you, 30% jealous. Because I'm reading lines thinking, he's such a good writer, he does me fucking head. Honestly, I mean that in the nicest way possible.
Thank you, that's the best compliment you've ever given me. We better end the show on this note. I've been Scotty, that's been Motty, that's been Younger. Thank you everybody who's been watching and getting involved in the chat. We'll be back live this time next week.
Yeah, we're back live next week. I put a link to the Patreon, right? And listen, I'm not just saying this because I want you to pound off your but we do put a lot of stuff on Patreon. We get articles, you get the radio thing, you get extra video content. And I know
you go political.
I go political, full on. And it is worth it, man. And if you can't afford it, it's fine. I get it, times are hard. But if you can, and you like what we do, and you want a little bit more, then do check it out because I'm talking honestly, it's good stuff. Anyway, yeah, I'll leave it there. Thanks a lot. Thanks for everyone as well that got involved. Always good to see you. And we'll be back soon.